Hey everybody, I'm Justin with AmericanTrucks.com. Joining me today, we have Judd to talk about his 2022 F-150. Judd's truck has a 22 by 12 fuel crush wheel with a negative 44 millimeter offset. He's got a 33 by 1250 Nitto Ridge Grappler on there, and making room for it all is the 3-inch Vertex coilover lift. So, Judd, we got a lot to talk about, sir, but right up front here, why did you go with this particular setup?
So I'm originally from Hawaii, and big beefy trucks or short squatted trucks with a beefy stance is kind of our thing out there. So that was a must for me.
Because you went very aggressive according to our rules here on the site. You got the fuel crush, negative 44 is your offset, but helping get the wheel way out there. You got a 22 by 12 wide. What really brought you to that design or that wheel in particular?
I went through several different options between black rhino and fuel, and I was like, wow, man, it just pretty much come down to looks. I even photoshopped the wheel and tires into a picture before I even, made that decision. And I was like, you know what, that's what I'm gonna go with.
That's definitely using technology to your advantage there. Now, you said you went between like a black rhino and a fuel wheel. What ultimately made you land on the fuel? Was it the contrast of that particular wheel? Was it color, or what do you think?
Yeah, definitely the contrast. I mean, the contrast in the wheel of itself, it's kind of got that gray offset to the black on the wheel, and then my truck it's kind of an odd color with the space white, and I thought it just blended really well.
We know we're talking about a very aggressive stance here. 22 by 12, certainly a big wheel, but throw a negative 44 millimeter offset on it, and you got those wheels and tires way out. Now, why did you go with this offset?
I knew the look that I wanted. Like I said, I had the leveling kit on it first, and they said, well, with the leveling kit, you'd probably have to do quite a bit of trimming. So I was like, well, to minimize the trimming, what do we have to do suspension-wise? And they said the 3-inch would be the best. So that's why I upgraded to the 3-inch. I knew what I wanted to accomplish, and I was willing to do whatever to do that.
Wrapped around those fuel crush wheels, you got the Nitto Ridge Grappler, awesome tire, 33 by 1250s on that. What's your experience been so far with the Ridge Grapplers?
I love them. It's pretty quiet driving up and down the road. I live 30 miles from all your off-road weekend stuff, and I drive that almost probably twice a week. And even on the highway, it keeps the noise to a minimum.
All did you go with the Ridge Grappler, which is more of like that hybrid terrain, as opposed to like a mud terrain or like a street tire or something like that?
So I went with the all-terrain because I've always had all-terrains. I mean, everywhere I go, it's from mainly road travel, and I rarely go in and do any off-road. I just fit it to my lifestyle, and that's why I chose that tire.
How did they compare ultimately to your stock tire, which I know you had a pretty basic street tire on there in stock form, but how do they really measure up?
I feel like the vehicle rides definitely different with this tire and suspension combo. Everybody knows that when you kind of go into suspensions and wheel and tire combos, your vehicle's not necessarily going to ride stock anymore. To me, it rides completely different. I love it.
Let's move on to the suspension, because again, I'm really curious to hear about this as well. Vertex makes a really nice coilover. We have them here on the site in many different configurations for kind of like anything from a small lift all the way to the big lifts, and you're kind of right there in the middle, I'd say. The 3-inch Vertex coilover up front. Why did you go with this particular setup?
So I had looked at several different ones, and with the Vertex coilover, originally I chose the strut set, and I was like, you know what, just for the sake of riding, because I do a lot of over-road travel, I was like, I want that suspension to ride a little bit better, but I definitely didn't want to feel like I was in a heavy equipment machine. So that's why I went with the coilover.
For the rear suspension, you just got the N30 shocks, but you have the stock block in the rear still?
Yes, I do.
Okay, well, it makes for a real nice looking ride height. I mean, nice and level, I would say. Talking about that setup, you mentioned 22 by 12, negative 44 offset. Obviously, there's some modifications involved, correct?
Yes, definitely. They didn't completely cut out my crash bar. They did trim it down just for rubbing purposes, and they trimmed some of that plastic and all that. But when they said minimal trimming, they meant minimal trimming. It almost looks like it was never touched. I'm really happy with the outcome.
Judd, is there anything you do differently with your setup at all?
I'm actually working on quite a bit of different little modifications here and there for looks and performance. The blow-off valve's a must. If you're a truck guy, you're gonna love sounds. So an exhaust and the blow-off valve, air intake, performance-wise, that's where it's going to be. And I do plan on upgrading the rear shocks to the adjustables as well.
What are your thoughts when you see the truck in its current form? Are you happy with it?
Yes, definitely. It's a neck breaker, even for myself, and I own and drive it. Yet again, it's a project that's something that I can say that, hey, that's mine. I'm proud of how it turned out. When I even saw it on the lift at the shop, I was like, oh man, that's going to look so cool. And sure enough, I mean, it's blown me away.
Man, That's awesome. Well, Judd, can't thank you again for joining me today, brother, and submitting some photos of your 22. Certainly sharp. And again, for you guys watching at home, Judd's truck is equipped with a 22x12 fuel crush wheel with a negative 44mm offset, 33x1250 Nitto Ridge grapplers, and that 3-inch Vertex coilover lift, man. So, Judd, thank you so much again, brother, and take care.
You bet, man. You too.
Thanks for watching. Remember, for all things F-150, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.